Greetings, traveller. Come in and take a seat by the fire. Today we will be continuing our tale together. A tale of peril and panic. Of the frantic scramble for survival in a world turned on its head, where battle turns to slaughter, and staunch defence dissolves into desperation. The Siege of the Elderkeep, Part 3. You can hear the seagulls over the docks. They wheel and bicker over the tall masts of a dozen ships, bobbing at their moorings. Sailors haul canvas packages from their holds as merchants and captains squabble in parallel with the birds above. Varn, your hometown, your childhood stomping ground. Things are simpler here. You are sitting in the shade of one of the dockside warehouses, fat, warm tears rolling down your face. Your dusty knees are scraped from the fall, but as always, Grandon is there. "Are you all right?" he asks, boyish, freckle-ridden features showing open concern as he runs over to you, trailing a small group of other children. You stifle your choking sobs and nod, not fully convinced. It had happened so suddenly. One moment you were scampering along the harbour wall, childhood thoughts consumed by imagination, in pursuit of bandits making off with the royal cheese stores, and then the tumble. The world turning end over end, the wall whipping past your eyes impossibly fast, the ground rushing up to meet you. "It looks worse than it is," Grandon says, flashing you a relieved smile and showing off the gap where his baby teeth are making their exit. You cannot help but smile back, looking up at him and cuffing your cheeks as he holds out a hand towards you. "Come on, let's go." You reach out, feeling your knee twinge as you lean towards him. "Let's go. Get up. Get up. Now. Now or never. Get up. Get up!" Your eyes flicker open. Sharp pain is pulsing through your skull, and for a moment the light is blinding. "Damn it, get up now!" A hand swims into vision. Larger, bloody and calloused, but familiar all the same. You reach out once more as Grandon's face emerges from the fuzz. You shake your head, attempting to clear the blur of concussion from your vision, and you see an armoured fist poking from a pile of rubble nearby, still gripping a chipped sword. The sergeant. Fragments of stone pepper the cobblestones around you, before your surroundings are swallowed in a thick pall of smoke and dust. You lose sight of Grandon almost instantly, but your hand catches his and you feel yourself being wrenched to your feet. You gasp in pain, your legs screaming at you as it takes your weight, and you involuntarily take a lung full of dust, causing you to cough violently. Through the rumble of falling masonry, you can make out a growing chorus of groaning and shouting. You stagger forwards, nearly tripping on a large lump of stonework as Grandon begins to haul you away. Behind you, a spine-chilling roar rises into the air, more a wall of force than a simple sound. Your leg is dragging slightly, not responding as it should, and you struggle to keep up as Grandon's grip continues to pull you forwards. Your foot slips on something wet, and you force yourself not to think about what it might have been. Behind you, a voice which had been hoarsely shouting for help falls abruptly silent. And then... a huge shadow looms through the haze. Grandon's hand slips from your fingers as you throw yourself to the side, The road splinters where you were standing as you hit the cobblestones again. Scrabbling for purchase, you regain your footing and turn to see a massive creature looming out of the smoke. Another troll, like the one the champion fought at the start of all of this, but larger, much larger. Its bulk fills the dust-choked street. One of its feet is a clubbed mass of stone which it drags across the pavement. You take a few involuntary steps backwards, mouth gaping in horror. The ground begins to shake. A heavy thrumming which vibrates up your tremoring legs. Hoofbeats. The dust is clearing, and you can see dark shapes behind the troll. Orcs, making quick work of the few defenders who have regained their footing or still hold weapons. Weapon! You scan the ground, but once again you find yourself unarmed. The creature looming ahead of you directs its craggy features towards you. The hoofbeats are growing louder, and you momentarily recall the reserve forces set aside for a counter-charge. Back when your section had been briefed on the battle to come, the idea of even needing a counter-charge had seemed completely implausible. But the sound is filling the air now. The creature lets out a bellowing roar, flecks of spittle stringing from its tusked maw, and then the world is filled with hurtling horses. Plate-armoured knights on massive steeds fill the street around you, thundering into the carnage with heedless fury. They cannot possibly know what they are charging into, and you see another of the defenders from the wall slammed from her feet in a blur of armoured horseflesh. The troll lifts a slab-like fist and slams it down on a charging horse's head, causing the animal's forelimbs to collapse as its rider is sent flying into the mass of attackers swarming through an ugly hole where your wall once stood. In moments, the nearest orcs throw themselves on the fallen knight, stabbing, slashing and bludgeoning him where he lands. Another knight tilts a lance into the troll's chest, plunging it deep with the momentum of his mount. But the beast simply snarls dismissively and snatches the knight from his saddle with its other hand. The noble warrior dangles, helpless for a moment, before the troll clenches its fist, crushing its victim like so much parchment. Run! The voice in your head is urgent and inescapable. You've been taught to despise cowards, but in this moment you learn to understand them. Your legs stiffen, and you turn without further thought, pushing yourself into a full sprint as the survivors behind you spend their last few moments in desperate conflict. You manage to barely avoid more knights as they thunder into the carnage, pressing yourself into a nearby building. You take a sharp, quaking breath, and then throw yourself around the corner, straight into Grandon's back. He lets out a slightly panicked yell, turning and raising a bloodied dagger before recognition floods his face. "You're alive!" There's no time to respond. You grab your friend by the shoulder and nearly throw him down the street as the clamour continues behind you. You have to go right now. Grandon seems to understand, speeding up to a jog as you half limp, half run alongside him. Ahead, what meagre reserves had not been on the wall when it fell are being harangued into position, alongside those defenders who had managed to make it further into the city relatively unharmed. There are a pitiful few. "Line up, soldiers!" An elderly man in clean, engraved plate armour is strutting up and down the forming line. Presumably a nobleman. Well educated in war and politics, but well past his prime. His well-trimmed moustache twitches as he continues what he believes to be an inspirational tirade. "This is the Elderkeep. We have never once fallen to invader, and I, for one, have no intention of starting now." These men and women don't know what they're preparing to face. If they did, They'd already be taking what little time they had left to put fortifications between them and the advancing horde. Still, you cannot help but admire their courage. Misguided, but admirable nonetheless.
These animals know nothing of the finer arts of strategy or tactics. They know nothing of true war.
Not this way. Grandin grabs your arm and pulls you into a side street, cutting through alleyways in an attempt to circle the clump of defenders without being caught and pulled into the line. You feel your conscience cringe at the thought of leaving them to their fate, but you don't have the will to resist the desire for survival. Perhaps it's the weariness of fighting for hours, or the pain swelling up from your leg and mingling with your aching muscles. But you follow Grandin on, even as you can hear the nobleman rattle on, not so far away.
I have been stamping out these vermin as they raid our lands since I was a boy. Their foul sorceries may have laid our outer walls low, but I have no intention of letting them find victory here today. We stop them here. Here we fight. Here we turn them back. Here, soldiers, we put an end to this ridiculous battle. Archers, ready.
You re-emerge into the main thoroughfare, past the thin line of desperate men and women.
Knock.
To his credit, the nobleman's words seem to have steeled their resolve, and as the troll emerges around the corner, none of them turn tail.
Loose!
A dozen or so bowstrings crack, not quite in unison, and a scattered volley of arrows soar towards their target. The troll raises an arm to protect its eyes. Most of the shots find their mark, sprouting from the troll's thick hide, while a few skip across the pavement around it. But the creature doesn't slow, lumbering forwards with the same inevitable gait, glacial and unstoppable.
Ready!
A building off to your right explodes in a shower of shattered wood and fragmented brick as the orcish siege weapons plaster the city ahead of their advancing warriors.
Knock!
Grandin pulls you onwards, up the hill and away from the impending slaughter.
Lose!
The voice is faltering slightly, but you block out the ensuing sounds of combat and focus on the top of the hill. There is the keep, immovable as ever, a seat of power, a symbol of mankind's transcendency and permanence, but more than this, a fortress first and foremost. You can already see bolt throwers being wheeled into position on the fortifications, and the portcullis is still up, hanging in the keep's main entryway like black teeth in a snarling mouth. The road steepens, climbing to a sharp chicane designed to expose attackers to the absolute worst that the defenders could throw at them for as long as possible.
Hurry up!
Grandin is blowing out his cheeks with the effort as you begin your climb together. Even over the sound of a city dying, you can hear the ratcheting crossbows, just as you did almost half a day ago. You look up towards the walls and see the glint of a helmeted head peeking over the rampart. They're looking at you. Surely not. Grandin stops dead in his tracks, eyes wide in surprise, as a crossbow quarrel punches through his chest. No. No. No, 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 no. This is not how this story is supposed to go. You catch him as he falls backwards, ignoring the echoing shouts to cease fire from the top of the wall. Grandin is gasping, hands grasping at the bolt now embedded in an expanding patch of red on his gambeson, just off center. You swat his hands away to prevent him from shifting the bolt and causing more harm. Sweat is beaded on his forehead, his breathing is shallow. and tinged with a wet gurgle that sets your teeth on edge. You recall the boy from Varn, always looking out for you. A brother in all but blood, now lying in your arms, beard and body stained red. And you know in this moment what you are here to do. Dredging what energy you have left, you haul yourself to your feet, Grandin in your arms, and begin to walk. Step by shaking step, with your comrades' death throes echoing up from the city behind you, you walk. The portcullis is lowering, the windlass cranking dully somewhere in the gatehouse above. You keep walking, fighting to stay upright with every step. Halfway there, and you can tell the battle has grown closer. A few more bolts whip out from the walls ahead, no longer aimed at you, but at the enemies presumably beginning to flow from between the houses below. From the gate, a few brave souls have emerged, shields raised as they rush down towards you. Another step, your knees threaten to buckle, but you ignore them. This man has saved you more times than you can count. You will return the favour. The soldiers reach you, laying hands on Grandin and hauling him from your arms. You feel more arms catch you under your shoulders, and your legs finally give out. Pain and exhaustion wash over you. As your vision begins to darken, you experience an odd sense of weightlessness as you are carried bodily towards the relative safety of the keep. Thank you for listening to this, the third part of our first tale together. As always, I must thank you for taking the time to listen to these short stories and for all of your feedback and support. If you are enjoying our work together, please consider leaving a comment to let me know, and perhaps to make a request for the subject of future tales. Tell me what you thought, how you felt, and what you want to see next. The Siege of the Elderkeep has always been intended as a story of 4 parts, and so I hope you will join me next week to continue our tale in its final installment. But until then, farewell and safe travels.